this week we're digging back into my stash of wood and creating more beautiful Christmas decor. If that's something you're interested in, stick around and I'll show you how. Hey everyone, welcome to A Handful of Daisies DIY. If you're new here, I'm Elaine. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed today's project and want to see more, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel and join our DIY family. If you're already subscribed, thank you so much for being a part of our family, and I hope you're finding inspiration in the projects that we've done so far. This week we're continuing to use wood I have laying around my house, and we're going to create some more Christmas decor. So let's get right into this week's project. The wood I'm using is wood that I had in my stash from other projects. So they're new pieces of wood, but they've been in my stash for a while. So I'm also going to be creating some stencils using some Mylar sheets. They're 7.5 mil. They make really nice stencils, and I'm going to be cutting those out on my silhouette machine. I'm not sure why my camera was so blurry with this, but I just wanted to show you the silhouette that I have. It does really well cutting these stencils. It does take several passes to get it cut out though. So the first project, we're making stocking hangers. I'm going to make two different ones, and I'm going to make two of each one of them. So we're going to start out painting these two boards. They're about 36 inches by 7 inches. So I'm just going to give them a good coat of white paint. I picked up this paint at Lowe's. It's just a plain white base paint. Now it is going to take several coats to cover this wood. So once I finished the first coat, I let it dry and then I put another coat on and did both sides. So now we're going to move on to the next two boards. For this, I have a mixture of Waverly antiquing wax with a little bit of Waverly's black ink paint. I use the black in my mixture just to tone it down a little bit because it tends to be red and I don't like the red. So this is what we're using to stain the boards. So I'll put those to the side to dry, and the next thing I'm going to do is measure out where I'm going to put my little poles for my stocking to hold my stockings on. So on this first one, we're doing the Grinch. So now that I have those holes drilled out, I know exactly where to put the Grinch hands, so it makes it look like the Grinch is holding the stocking. So I'm going to start out using the Waverly black paint, the ink, and my stencil brush to stencil on the outline. Now I have this stencil cut out in a couple of different layers. That way I can do the black on the outside and then do the colors on the inside. So once the first one's done, I am just going to go back and touch it up a little bit, just little places that I missed. It's easier to touch it up with just a small little brush. Then I'm going to move on to each one. Now I'm going to have 6 holders total on each of these stocking hangers. So once I finish with the outline and they've dried, then I'm going to take my next stencil and that's going to cover up the outline. That way I can do the paint on the inside. So the green paint, I can't remember what it's called, but I did pick it up at Walmart. It's a fluorescent green and it does glow in the dark. So I thought that would be really neat for this. Now it does take several coats of the green to get it as dark as I wanted. So once I had the first coat of green on, I did go back with my detail brush and just put a second coat on to make it darker. Next, I'm going to do the cuff in red acrylic paint from Walmart. I believe this is Apple Barrel. And I'm just going to use my fine brush on this as well around the edges and then fill in the middle. So once those are done, I cut out another stencil to go across the top, and I'm just going to use the same Waverly chalk paint and ink for this. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this project so far. So now we're ready to work on the actual hangers. Now these are knobs that came off of an old furniture piece that I redid a couple of years ago. Of course, as a crafter, I don't throw anything away. So they're going to work out well for this project. So I'm just using the apple barrel in red, the same as I used on the sleeves, to paint this. But I quickly found out that the paint wasn't sticking very well. So I ended up just wiping it all off and taking it outside and spraying it with a red spray paint. So since I had 2 signs, I only had enough of those knobs for one of the signs. So I just used some other pulls that I had. I painted those as well for my second sign. And then I'll show you at the end of the video, so stay tuned, what they all look like at the end. So the next stocking hanger we're going to do Santa Clauses. So on this one, I'm just going to start out with the wording at the top. I just centered it across the board, and I'm using the black chalk paint again and my stencil brush. Now while that was drying, I'm just using some masking tape on the bottom so I can measure across to see exactly how far apart I want my Santa faces. This stocking holder is going to have 6 on it as well. So I'm just measuring, trying to make sure that they're spread apart where they need to be. And then of course the beard of the Santa was going down past my tape, so I did have to pull the tape off under it. Now I'm just using a dabber sponge for this one and white chalk paint. It's Waverly white chalk paint from Walmart. And then the red paint is again that red acrylic paint for the hat. I thought these Santa faces were so cute. Let me know what you think in the comments below. So I'm just going to do the same thing all the way across where I marked each one. And then I'm just going to pull all the tape off and let the Santa faces dry. For this one, I didn't have any more pulls, so I'm using just really large beads that I painted red with the same spray paint that I painted the knobs with. And that's what we're going to use on this one. So on to our last project. On this project, we're just going to do a Grinch porch sun. So I picked up this green paint at Walmart as well. It's Apple Barrel. And it's called Spring Green. I'm just putting my board up off the table so I could get around the edges really well. Now this board was about 4 foot by 11 inches wide. I'm just giving it a really good coat. It's going to take a couple of coats on this one as well. The wood is a little older and it is soaking the paint in. Now I let the board dry and I had put my brush in a baggie as I always do instead of washing them out in between, so it's ready to go for my next coat. It did only take 2 coats to cover it really well. And I let that dry. I made another stencil for this one as well. going to start out by measuring the Santa hat. Because the board is so wide, I'm going to have to cut it at an angle on the end to make it fit. So here's how I cut it. I did cut each side a little bit different so my hat would lay a little crooked. And this is the stencil that I cut out. Again, this using the same Mylar film and my silhouette machine. If you can see the tape across the eyes, I did forget to attach the inside of the eye. So I had to tape it to keep it on there. So I'll go back and touch that up afterwards. I didn't want to have to recut the stencil again. So I'm starting out with my stencil brush and again the black Waverly ink. And I'm doing the whole stencil in the black. So once I finished the black, I did go back and touch up those spots where I had the tape across it. Then I'm going to come in with some yellow for his eyes. I'm sorry, my hand's in the way. You can't see where I'm painting. So for the bottom, instead of putting welcome, I decided to use my silhouette and just cut out this saying from Dr. Seuss. I thought it would be perfect for this sun. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Would you have just put welcome on it, or do you like having this saying on it? So I'm just going to fold it back. I taped it on the end just to make sure I had it in the middle. So I folded it back and I'm going to pull the backing off, and that'll make it so much easier to lay it on straight. I'm just pulling it off really slow to make sure that all of my letters are there. And then I'm going to use my little tool to press down the vinyl onto the board. Now, don't know if you can see in this video, the transfer tape that I used on the top, I did it in 3 different sections. And the reason I did that is it makes it so much easier to pull it back, having smaller sections instead of trying to do it all in one piece. So you just have to take your time and make sure that the letters are adhering to the board really well. And I am using permanent vinyl for this. And once I have it all on, I am going to take it outside and spray it with polyacrylic just to make sure that the vinyl sealed in really well. Now we're going to go ahead and put his hat on. Make sure it fits well. And I do end up putting a little hot glue up underneath the hat as well, just to make sure it doesn't come off. Now, the reason I left so much room in between the face and the wording at the bottom, I knew I wanted to put some ribbon on as a scarf. So I'm just using this black and red ribbon for that. And I'm not tying a bow, I'm just going to tie a knot and then let it hang down like a scarf. I'm just going to trim up the ends a little bit. Of course, the first one I cut it wrong, so I'd have to cut it again. And since it is wired ribbon, I am able to fold it back a little bit just so it isn't hanging completely straight. And here's a look at how they all turned out. These were all really quick, simple projects. Anyone can do these projects. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Which one is your favorite? I hope you enjoyed today's video. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. We do have more wood projects coming up before Christmas, so make sure that you hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss out on any upcoming projects. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.